Life can be so challenging. Where can you go to get divine clarification, help, and advice? Well, may I introduce Natasha Venter, medium coach and direct connection to your guides and angels. Through her podcast, Life Clarifications, Natasha will help you navigate through and create your life's destiny. My name is Kevin McDonald, co-host of this podcast, and I've seen her work and know that through her incredible talent, you can be changed forever. So let's start another episode of Life Clarifications with Natasha. And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a brand new show. And if you start looking at whether or not it's on My Independence Report, it is for now, but she's going to be branching out into her whole thing down the road, I do believe. And who is who? Well, you're looking at her. Her name is Natasha Venter. And we've got a brand new show that we are starting today. And it's called...
And
I gotcha.
Life Clarifications. I'm sorry. And that's part of what we're going to be talking about is how to be human in today's world and how to manage today's world and knowing that life is just going to be life and we got to manage it. And how do we perceive ourselves through that walk?
But a lot of times we, sitting here in our own little shell, have a tendency to go, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help myself. I can't, maybe I'll go meditate. No, I don't want to do that. Maybe I'll do that. And we get mentally, we get all caught up in what we should be doing or could be doing, but we're not doing it because we don't know and we need verification. We need some clarification. And that's why you're going to help people with this show, because we're going to have you talk to people on the air and work with them and their problems, right?
Yes, that is one of those things that I've had a calling my whole life to support, to guide, to walk with someone, to help them through their journey. And many of us don't know how to engage with ourselves because we've been, in some ways, through fault of maybe families, through life, through friends, through scenarios that have come to us, we've kind of lost track of who our core self is, who our emotions are, what our inner voice wants us to be and do. And I like to help people reawaken that inner joyfulness of I'm doing more right than wrong in myself, even if that means being perfectly imperfect in this life of being human.
Now let's clarify here, because you're not there. You're not a therapist. You're not a psychoanalyst. You're not a psychologist.
No.
You're not a hypnotherapist. What is it that you do that can help them?
I am a medium, and what has come to me through life's journey is I'm a intuitive personal awareness coach. So in other words, I've had a lot of life experiences. My dad was a chiropractor, so we've always looked at life with the holistic aspect and then maybe the medical side. But yet at the same time, he kind of guided me through just observe life, just see what life is trying to show you. And then I've had many life experiences, like having children at the same time my parents were dying. So like one summer I had bought my first house, 6 weeks later, my dad died. 6 weeks later, my first child was born. And then, my next child, 3 weeks after she was born, then I found out my mom had Lou Gehrig's disease. And so with that I've had these life experiences that pulled me through much experiences to set a tone of how I can help people. And that even includes being married. I've been married almost 30 years, but yet almost 20 some odd years of that was with an alcoholic, going through a lot of these life changes with my family. And so I've had to multitask in who I am, multitask in my emotions. Doesn't give me the PhD, but yet it gives me the PhD of life, I feel like.
Well, there's one more thing that it does for you, and I call it like you're on steroids, because you're not just dealing with your life experiences. you have the guides, and
Yes.
tell us about who you have that helps you make decisions and to help people, help people clarify their life.
Well, being the medium that I am, I've always been aware of spirits around me. I've always been aware of my guides. Like I was, even as a young child, I had a best friend whose name was Peter, and he would follow me along in spirit form. You know, I didn't really have friends, so I played with my spirit friends. And so with that and come to find out later when I was more of an adult that he was Saint Peter. Well, no reason why I would pick up a candy bar trying to steal it, and then I had to put it back. You know, it was one of those things that I've always had this interaction with spirit. In my house that I grew up with, I had, 1860s people walking through in their clothing that you knew that it was just this time stamp that was in the house. And then the night that my dad died, growing up in my house, there was always this whispering of noise, and we didn't have electronics at that time, so it wasn't that. But one thing that happened was when my dad died, the house was peacefully quiet. It was like he, in his own way, helped quiet the house, because my dad was intuitive too. So I've had many generations of intuitive work. And so with that I work with highly with the angels, with fairies, with the star people. I engage on many different dimensions with that. I work with dragons. So there's like a lot of different tools that help me. Some of my main guides are like Saint Peter, Archangel Azrael, who is the angel of ultimate time. He's actually one of the angels that helps people cross over or helps them through life changes, major changes. When I started doing this work to come out and be a voice, I had Archangel Chamariel come in, and he also is one that helps work with those coming through life major changes. So with that I've had these different experiences where I've had core people in energy form, Mother Mary, all these different realms try to help me. Now, I want you to know, though, that when I talk about Mother Mary and Jesus and the angels, I'm not talking about any religion base. I'm talking about the spirit form that they represent to me, which is basically love. I want to love you. I want you to know that you're supported, and I care about you on a day-to-day basis. And they have asked me to help them be a voice, because not everybody can hear Mother Mary. Not everybody can hear Jesus. Not everybody can hear. And that's one thing that I've been called to, is to be that person to say, I can help you hear them.
So, given that, if somebody had a need and felt like you could help them and they call you, how do you work the call? How do you call all these folks in to help this particular individual? Is it just one at a time, or do their guides participate? Is it a grant? Is it like a 30 or 40 guys sitting around a round table, and they're all like, I think this is what you should do, and this, tell Natasha this is how they should. How does it work for you?
Well, so talking about the round table, I have a belief system that, in my core being, wherever it sits, I have a round table, kind of like King Arthur. And that's where all my teammates sit. So it would be my dyslexic self, it'd be my dragon, it would be my angels, it would be even on my schizophrenic past life self, because schizophrenics, they're great at multitasking. If they're if they're in their ability to think well. And so I'm grateful that my schizophrenic self can support me when I'm having to multitask in my brain. So I have many of these team members that sit at the table, and they help me help you. Now, when I'm doing a session, what I tend to do is I light a candle and I ask your guides, your support team, to come to me so that I can hear what your team, my team, are working together to better your life. And I'm going to be honest with you that there's sometimes in a session I'm getting pat on the head, and this is for you, my dear. But at the same time, because we're all human, we're all having to experience. And that's one thing is that there's no wrong in what's happening in our lives, because we're supposed to be in sync with others. We're supposed to learn from others because we're all on this learning path. And so when I bring in your team, their team, my team and your team, and they commune, then I get a good conversation going on with what is going on with you, me, us. Okay. What I do ask is that I step aside, and what I'm stepping aside is my humanness, so I can be a clear channel, clear voice for you. The one thing I do, though, is that I make the statement that once our session is done, we're done, and your team goes back to you, my team comes back to me, and I just give you grace and love on your journey. And I'm hoping that if you need more assistance, that we have another session and we can do more. But yet, it's never for me to keep you and your team. It's always for me to send your team back to you.
So why is it that I should call you and not Annie, the medium down the street? What is it that you bring special to the process?
I want you to know that everyone who is intuitive, say that they're intuitive, and you hook up with them, that there's no fault to that. And if you're called to somebody, please go to them. Like I used to do in fairs, I'd be the first table and I'd say, welcome, go to who you're drawn to, because that's who you're going to hear the message from. Now, we may all say the same thing in different ways, but the one thing I want you to know, that my intention, the love that I hold for people going through their journey, and in my being, and people have made the statement saying, you're not judgmental, are you? And I go, no, as much as I cannot be, I try not to be judgmental. And I'm pretty good at not being judgmental, because we all have a life. We've all had life stories. We've all had experiences. Why am I to judge what you've gone through when I don't want anybody to judge what I've gone through? And so with that I hold that judgment back, because once I start saying something, I go, oh, wait a minute. Not for me. Not for me. Because I'm needing to learn this process too. So with that's one thing, that my integrity, my intention, my value for you, being a human, needing to walk through this spiritual life that we're walking, learning through that your soul wants to be a part of this greater picture. And how can you bring your body, mind, spirit together and be a team? And that would be my want and calling for you, is to how can you have more grace in your life, being this imperfectly perfect human.
By the way, there's a reason why you found this video. I want you to just let that sink in for a moment, ladies and gentlemen. There's a reason why you came here and turned this on, because I really think Natasha can be of service to you, which is what her goal in life is. And if you want to get in touch with her, you don't have to wait. You can go where?
To angelicclarifications.com. That is my website. I'm also on Facebook at Natasha Venter Angelic Clarifications, or Instagram Natasha Venter 96, and Twitter Natasha Venter 11. And if you can find those, I do inspirational quotes Sunday night through Thursday night, and sometimes there's videos on top. Also, I am on YouTube at Natasha Venter, and usually typing in Angelic Clarifications, you can find me some way in that dance. So with that there's always somewhere that you can find me to be able to manage. And on my website and on those sites are my, and you can also get me at Natasha at angelicclarifications.com. That's my email, Natasha at angelicclarifications.com. But any other way, you can get a hold of me through my website. at angeliclarifications.com.
You know, and I just had a thought that just occurred to me, just popped into my little head. And sadly, when that happens, I generally almost always have to say it. And that is this. If you are searching through the internet and you're trying to find somebody who has experience with drug and alcohol abuse, who's lived through it, who's come out the other side. I've met her husband. He's a darling man. He's just simply a darling man. But there wasn't always the case.
No.
And she has lived through that and can provide you with some insight as to how she dealt with it and how you can too. So
I've also I have never lost a husband. I've never lost a child. But I have walked through a grief. And I want you to know that I may not be able to have a complete understanding of losing a child. But I was gifted with a mother of heart. After my mother passed away, my mother of heart came into my life. And for 20 years, I witnessed her, who has lost a child and had a child who had an accident where he could not walk anymore, couldn't move any of his body, paraplegic. So her and I had heart-to-heart talks. I communicated with her son who has passed and supported her. So with that I have been a witness of someone who has lost a child, sat with her when she was grieving those anniversaries. And so with that I have an understanding about grief that maybe I can give with a perspective that makes grief more walkable for you than sitting in it and letting it be in control of you. And so that's my other intention and wish, is to help those walking through grief. I have done mediumship with many beings who committed suicide and supported their family through a form of healing process, not the healing process, but a form of healing process, because it is a journey, and every seed that we can put in helps that journey move forward. And I know my words aren't correct or right, but yet I'm trying to give the intention of that I can be helpful in something that doesn't really have words to explain what you're going through.
Well, and I'll tell you the one other thing that you do is if you found this video, then you will also find that Natasha is working with me and Regan, Regan with,
you know what it is that right now we've got planets in retrograde and they're tossing us around like no tomorrow.
Regan Forston, he's a hypnotherapist, she's a medium, and what we are doing is a series on life between lives. The last one that we just did, and it should be right there on your screen, we talked about death and what happens immediately after. The next one we're going to do is talk about, okay, you've gone to the funeral, you've seen how everybody is, you've tried to help people get rid of their grief, and now you're going to move on. What do you do?
And I'm going to clarify, that's the soul after they pass, that
Correct.
They've come and watched their funeral, maybe, and they've done this. And then what is in the next journey for the soul? And I'm hoping that we can talk about those with religion and the different religion based, and if that shifts how people pass and where they go.
Oh, absolutely.
On one of these conversations. So.
Oh no, we're going to be spending a bunch of time on that.
Yes.
So with that,
I'm excited.
It is great fun. So Natasha, one more time, if somebody needs to contact you, and by the way, if you want to, this Life Clarifications is going to be on this channel, so keep coming back to this. We're going to have more episodes up until she gets her own channel, which I may fight and stuff. But anyway. Life Clarifications with Natasha. But if you want to talk to her directly, she is available how?
At angeliclarifications.com. Or you can email me at natasha@angeliclarifications.com.
So this has been a little preview episode. I hope you liked it. I hope that you'll take advantage of her gifts because they are truly special. And we will be able to, down the road, be able to take your calls live on the air.
Yes,
So
I'm excited about that.
we're really looking forward to doing that. And we'll post that and publish that when we get to the point where we can do that. So I hope you'll take the time to do that. And Natasha, thank you. And any last words before we go?
I just want you to know that when you're walking in life, we're all on this learning process, and people try to be perfect. You know, that's why I use the mantra, I'm perfectly imperfect. And if you've observed us, that we have been perfectly imperfect through this, this process. And what did we do? We didn't go and sit and wallow in it, but we've moved through it. And I just want you to know that I hope you give yourself grace for being this perfectly imperfect person, and blessings on your journey.
And that is Natasha Venter. Look her up, and we're going to be with you next time. And you have a great day, everybody. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves, because each other's all we got.
And please be kind, please, to yourself and to others.
Thank you so much. And Natasha, you have a wonderful day.